Hello everyone, Parallel here, and welcome to Star Trek Online. Now that the Agents of Yesterday expansion is released, I thought I would do an overview of all the new content and check out the patch notes as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in and take a look at what is new in this expansion. Now this is officially the third expansion for Star Trek Online. That would make the first expansion would have been Legacy of Romulus. Then the second one would have been Delta Rising, which is right around when I rejoined the game, back when Delta Rising was released. So that was a little over about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now. And finally, we are here with Agents of Yesterday. So right when you first log in, you'll probably see your help question mark here blinking. That usually indicates they have put some new patch notes here. It's always nice to go in here. They give a kind of a high-level overview of what the new content is, and it summarizes it quite well. So let's go quickly through what the highlights are here. So we've got the first thing here is the 23rd Century Federation captains arrive. So this is probably the big part, the main draw of Agents of Yesterday. And you could probably tell from where my character is standing here on a 23rd century bridge that, yes, this is the main draw of the expansion. The whole new story arc for the original series, based on the original series in the 23rd century. So far, I've been really enjoying this part of the expansion. It has been a lot of fun. I've only kind of gone through the initial tutorial mission, but it is you could just tell that there was a lot of effort and care put into creating the 23rd century content. Just looking at this bridge, you could tell they very cryptic, really faithfully recreated the bridge, the Constitution Bridge. And right down to the sound effects, the panels all look fantastic. So far so good. This at least this part of the expansion has been excellent. I've been enjoying it very much. So let's just read through it here. Players can now create captains in a classic 23rd century era of the original series. Following the lead of Kirk, Spock, and the crew of the Enterprise, a new generation of Starfleet captains seek out new life and new civilizations, boldly going where no one has gone before. And what this boils down to is you can now create a character in the 23rd century. It kind of acts like its own faction. And when you start out in this faction, actually it seems to operate very much like the Romulan faction, where you have your initial story arc here called Agents of Yesterday, and once you go through this initial story arc, you will then kind of in some way you'll rejoin back to the normal 25th century storyline from the main part of the game. So you'll eventually join right back up to the Federation and go through the Klingon War arc and so on and so forth. Right through the standard story arcs. So that's pretty much how this new 23rd century faction works. But so far, I've been thoroughly enjoying the new story arc. There are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new episodes there to go through. And I'm very much looking forward to every one of them. All right, so next thing here. So there's new queues to challenge captains. There are 2 new end game PvE queues, and just looking at the patch notes here, one is called Battle of Procyon 5, and another one is Days of Doom. I will definitely be checking those out, but I've very quickly been drawn into the 23rd century story arc, so I'm focusing on that initially, but I will eventually get around to checking out those 2 new queues for sure. In particular, the Days of Doom looks pretty interesting because that involves the Doomsday Machine, the planet killer. So that will be pretty cool. Doomsday Machine is always a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. Now, it says new missions through time and space. So there are a number of new episodes that await the captain in all factions and eras. So let's see. As the shadowy group conspires to undo the galactic timeline and the Alliance, temporal agents will join forces with legends throughout time and space to put an end to the time-spanning conflict. And I did notice here, again, when I pulled up the episodes, there is a new story arc in here called Yesterday's War. And it's only showing in one episode right now, but I know there are more here. I believe they kind of unlock as you complete them, as you go up in levels. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I'm pretty sure this one has to do with Temporal Cold War, a lot from Enterprise, the Enterprise series. I believe it, it kind of it picks up from where the previous featured episodes kind of left off. And based on the, some of the dev blogs and things that have been out, I'm pretty sure it involves like Crewman Daniels. So that should be cool. He was always kind of an enigma in Enterprise, and I don't think, I'm trying to think back to the episodes. I don't know that they ever really explained his existence. I have a hard time believing he's just some random crewman. They always just call him Crewman Daniels, but you get the very distinct feeling that he's much more than just an ordinary crewman. All right, let's keep going here. Temporal Defense Initiative reputation. Yes, there is a new reputation, and I can't see it on this character yet, but there is a whole new reputation, which of course comes with its own set of marks that you have to grind out for that reputation, and it also has new elite marks as well. And let me double check here. I believe the elite marks, what are they called? Chronoton something? Chronoton buffers. So you'll get the Chronoton buffers if you do the advanced version of the queues. So you have those 2 new space queues that you can grind out for marks. And if you do the advanced version or the elite version, you will get the elite marks, which are the Chronoton buffers. I don't see it mentioned here, but you can actually grind out just the regular marks in the Badlands Battle Zone, which is what I've actually been doing on my alts. As with any new reputation that comes out, I'd recommend to at least do it, once a day to get your daily bonus and start just building up your reputation, doing the 20-hour cooldown reputation projects to grind up your reputation. So you can keep that going. I do that on a few alts just to initially get them up, to rank 5 in the reputation. That, typically takes, I don't remember the exact number of days, around a month, roundabouts, to grind out a reputation from scratch, because you get 2,500 per project completion, and you need 100,000. So always good to start that right away. Just complete 1 queue per day to get your bonus box, and you'll have plenty of marks to at least grind out the reputation. You might not be able to get a lot of gear right away, but you'll at least be able to get the reputation up to rank 5. And the Badlands Battle Zone is very good for that. It's very easy to quickly complete one of the objectives out there in the battle zone and get your daily marks very quickly. So that is the new reputation. Like I said, I can't really see it here on this character, and even my other characters. It's only been out for like a day now, so you can't really have progressed very far at this point. But once I unlock a few more ranks, or maybe all the way when I get to rank 5, I would like to do a overview of the reputation itself. And check out the gear and stuff that it has. A lot of the gear is all Chronoton based. And I haven't really taken a look in depth at all the consoles and the unique items you can get, or the space set. That's something I would like to do in a future video. Like I said, once I've grinded out more of the reputation and have access to more of the gear, would be a better time to do that. But anyway, start grinding it out. Start grinding it out now, so you will have access to it later down the road. All right, something else they added here is the Temporal Operative Specialization. And this is actually a captain specialization. Again, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have the specializations unlocked on my new character yet. But it's a new primary specialization right up there with Intel and Command, and actually Pilot as well. Now that's a full reputation. And it has a distinctly, you can, let me just read it here. The new specialization is science-based, and it features many new exotic damage and kit module abilities. The specialization also provides a unique new starship trait that utilizes the mastery of time to tactical effect. And I believe that starship trait is a little bit odd. It kind of operates when your ship is in reverse, and it gives you some benefits when you're in reverse. It's kind of funny. Kind of curious to see how that plays out. I know the excellent Reddit community and are probably already working on testing and seeing how effective a lot of this new specialization is and the new traits. So I'd be very curious to find out what the community decides as far as how effective this new specialization is. Indications are so far that it does actually seem very good for, in particular, if you are an exotic damage build on a science character, this will most definitely be the new top specialization for that kind of a build, for a exotic damage science build. Will it replace Intel as far as the top DPS specialization? The jury is still out on that. I do want to check it out myself, but as you know, grinding out spec points is a big time consumer. I had a bunch of spec points saved up from the featured episodes, but even that I'm kind of debating. I might want to use those on this character, my new Agent of Yesterday character. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to dump a lot of those into the Temporal Operative specialization. But I will definitely be keeping tabs on it. Some of the abilities do look very nice. Lots of cool debuffing effects. Lots of interesting crowd control. Lots of buffs to particle generator skill, so that will be buffing out your exotic damage. I'm sure you can make some really devastating gravity wall builds with this specialization. Looks very promising. And then finally, Temporal Operative Bridge Officers. So there is a new, let me see here. I only have one bridge officer. But yes, you can see now when you have bridge officers, you will be able to train them as a temporal operative right alongside Command, Intel, and Pilot, which means there will be a whole bunch of new buff abilities, new powers as well related to temporal operatives. Of course, the key thing is here, in order to take advantage of this, you're going to need a starship that has Intel seating. Yeah, so just like, some ships like have Intel seating or Command seating, you're going to need to have a ship with temporal seating in order to take advantage of these bridge officer abilities. And I have to admit, I have not looked into these at all. I don't know what this has to offer as far as the bridge officer abilities. Let's read it out here. It says, bridge officers can now be trained to join the ranks of the temporal operatives. Once trained, they can wield the new entropy game mechanic to great effect as members of your command crew on the ground or in the depths of space. I do remember reading a dev blog about the entropy mechanic. Sounds very similar to like a rage mechanic in other MMOs where you have abilities that build up your entropy, and then you have abilities that spend your entropy. So it's kind of should be an interesting mechanic. You'll have pretty similar to other like rage types where you build rage and then you spend rage. So that could add an interesting dynamic. It just all depends on how good the abilities are. Like, does this temporal operative, bridge officer powers, do they have anything that's amazing, like concentrate firepower from Command for torps? Or do they have anything nice like override subsystem safeties from Intel? Does it have its own really cool abilities, that can compete with the other top abilities from the other, bridge officer specializations? That is, I guess, unknown. So it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. If these new temporal, the new captain spec and the new bridge officer spec will be competitive in the end game. I'm very curious. I always like checking out new powers, but so I mean it would be good to have a little bit of a shake up to the meta and have these new temporal abilities be very competitive with what we've got. But like I said, just keep in mind, if you want to take advantage of these, you're going to need a ship that actually has temporal seating. So basically all the new ships with this expansion, and there were a ton of ships with this expansion, which I will go through here in a minute after we go through the patch notes, but there were a lot of new ships, including all of the, dozen or more ships that were released with the Temporal Agent pack. And there was also all the new ships in the Kelvin timeline lockbox. All of those ships, I believe, have some form of temporal seating. I believe the lockbox ships even have temporal and one other, like the new Constitution class has command and temporal, and I believe the Vengeance Dreadnought has, I think, intel. Is it intel and temporal, I want to say, which would be a very nice combination. So there it is. Those are the big new heavy hitters, big highlights of the Agents of Yesterday expansion. Now, looking through the rest of the patch notes, I would recommend that you go through and read them. There were a lot of little bug fixes and tweaks here and there. They were quite long, so I don't want to go through every line item here in the expansion, in the patch notes, but there were a few things that caught my eye, and I do want to mention those. One thing, first of all, is very nice. You do get immediately a free character slot, which is cool. Everyone got a free character slot, so you can right away make a Agent of Yesterday. Another thing they did is where is it here? Oh, yes. So now that they've added the new Temporal Operative Specialization for your captain, they've increased the cap for spec points. I can't. I can't choose specialties, but they increased the cap for spec points up to the new max of 150. And that is now a hard cap. So if you go over that amount of spec points, you will instead just get rewarded with dilithium instead of more spec points. This is a kind of a change from the past where they would allow you to bank up additional spec points. It's kind of a silly change. I know there was some anger in the community over changing how the spec points are capped. I think it's kind of a silly change. I think it's fine to just let people, stock up spec points. It's not a big deal. They have to put in the time to earn the spec points in any case. It just gives you a little more flexibility of when you can earn those spec points. But now with the new system, you are capped at the 150, so you can't bank up those spec points if you're capped out. If you're not below the cap, you got nothing to worry about. It won't change much. None of my characters are capped out, so it's really only those really high-level players who spend a lot of time that would be capped out. Let's see here. A few other changes that caught my eye. Particularly some of the power changes. It looks like Gravity Well got some nice little buffs here. In particular, it says it now more reliably will trigger attached effects like those triggered by exotic damage abilities and control effects. And I'm hoping that will affect some of the traits and the, other things that are supposed to be triggered on control abilities will more reliably now trigger with Gravity Well. I think that's an excellent change. And it makes me really, really want to get my science character back into my exotic damage Vesta build and give it another try. There are some really nice traits that synergize with Gravity Well, and it would be nice to give those a try. Some of that I can't remember the name of it. Is it Um, and I'm blanking out on the name of the trait, but there is a trait that will knock, I don't know if it's engines or just a random subsystem offline for people hit by a control effect from your gravity well. That could be a very cool combination now if it's more reliably triggered with gravity well. So looking forward to trying that out. There were also some changes to how feedback pulse works and the related. There's a similar ability in the strategist spec that works kind of like feedback pulse that also was changed in a similar fashion, where now feedback pulse, instead of doing its own damage type, it will instead do the damage type that was reflected back from the enemy. So if the enemy hits you with plasma damage, your feedback pulse damage that goes back to them will be plasma, and so on. And I'm kind of curious to see how this shakes out. I know feedback pulse was doing a lot of damage. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, because the feedback pulse build was what kind of brought tanking back into the meta. And anything that brings more variety back into the meta, I think, is a good thing. So hopefully this isn't a huge nerf to feedback pulse. I do want to see feedback pulse remain competitive, and so people will go for those cool tanking builds. It was definitely a welcome change from just your regular you just beam fire will DPS builds. Yep. So we'll have to see how that feedback pulse change shakes out. I do think it is at least somewhat of a nerf, because I think that the damage type it used to be was a special, I don't know if it was like an uncategorized damage. It was just called feedback pulse damage, and it didn't have another damage type. So I think it was, I don't know if it was penetrating through resistances in some way because it was untyped, but not quite sure the inner workings there of the mechanics of how it used to work. But it might end up being slightly a nerf, but hopefully it is not not a bad nerf. Hopefully it will just be still be a very effective power. So those kind of caught my eye as kind of the major power changes. They did change Radiant Nanite Cloud. This sounds like a good thing. This was a trait that's been in the game for quite a while now. I think back even since, which was it, the Sartheln that had Radiant Nanite Cloud? I can't remember what ship you got that on, but it's been in the game for quite a while now. And the way it sounds like the fix that they did here in the patch notes was to make it so it will only be triggered when you use a bridge officer ability or captain ability, as opposed to, it used to trigger off like any heal in the game, which apparently was also causing a lot of lag. So this could even be considered a fix for lag issues, on top of just kind of making the power a little more realistic, not trigger off any tiny little hull heal from any source. Now will only be from bridge officer or captain abilities. But alongside of that, they did, it says the amount of healing has been doubled from 25% of healing done up to 50%. So it does heal for a larger chunk when you do get off that bridge officer ability. Just skimming through here, was there anything else? There was a pretty major change to Omega kinetic shearing. If you are a Torp person, you will want to read through the details. I'm admittedly not very knowledgeable on Torp builds, but I do know that Omega kinetic shearing was a key trait for those kinetic builds. It had a very nice damage over time effect for when your torpedoes would hit, and give you a nice more of a sustained damage. So it's very well liked by the kinetic community. It looks like it is a nerf to some extent. So it says it now uses pre-resistance damage values to calculate damage over time effect instead of post-resistance. I believe that's actually somewhat of a buff, but then the second part resolved an issue that was causing Omega kinetic shearing damage over time effect to not be subject to resist. That is definitely a nerf. It looks like so now it'll be affected by resists, which is a nerf, but you know, if you're high in player and you're using a lot of pen and you have a lot of debuffs, attack pattern beta going, you can still hopefully get, you know, the enemy resistances down, so it should still hit pretty hard. Hopefully this doesn't overly penalize Torp builds. Any other changes? There was a buff to Charged Particle Burst. Never really used that ability too much on my science character, but it might be worth taking a look at it. Now it says it drains 200% the amount of shields that it used to, so pretty significant buff. Still might be a bit of a niche ability. They did also change on the ground some abilities, like a lot of abilities like exothermic induction or plasma grenade, things that leave patches of hazard or fire or ice on the ground, are now got some changes. Basically, instead of putting a dot on the mob inside the field that will continue when they leave the field, now if the mob leaves the field, they will not take any more damage. But in return, they are making the field last a lot longer. We'll see how that plays out on the ground, but will definitely affect if you use a lot of grenades, plasma grenade or cryo grenade, or like exothermic induction field, which is a key science power for sure. I do want to check that out on my science character. That I use it in all my science characters. It is a fantastic ability. So we'll see. Could be a buff in some cases, could be a nerf. If you can keep your enemies still, it would be kind of a buff because the field will last longer. But if they run out right away, then it would kind of still be a bit of a nerf because they won't be taking damage anymore. Any other significant changes here? So those, yeah, I think those are the heavy hitters there in the patch notes as far as changes to the systems and powers. There are a lot of little bug fixes, tweaks, UI improvements, some graphical improvements for Klingons, and a bunch of little fixes for costume parts, and all kinds of good things. Definitely worth a read through just to see if there's one little fix here or there that was annoying you. Might be somewhere hidden in the patch notes. All right, good stuff. So that is basically all the new content. Now, last thing here, let's take a look at the C-Store and see what ships have been released. Now, I was looking through the C-Store, and I don't see anywhere where you can buy the Temporal Agent pack. So someone please correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't look like... that's the old bundle. I don't see... Oh, there is the Temporal Agent Starter Pack. Okay, am I missing it here? Is there the Temporal... Yeah, okay, it's here now. Okay. I don't know how I missed that before. But here it is. So this is the big, huge pack, kind of like this expansion's version like of the Delta Operations pack, which I actually did buy. The Delta Operations pack was fantastic. The bridge officers that you get in that pack were amazing, especially on the Romulan side. All of them had Superior Romulan Operative. There was actually a Reman officer there that had Infiltrator and Superior Romulan Operative. Just a fantastic pack. Also had some really good doffs. The ships, all the Intel ships were in that pack, and a lot of those Intel ships are still fantastic and hold up very well even today. But so this is the Temporal pack to go along with Agents of Yesterday. It looks like it's for 1,300 Zen, which is pretty close to, I believe it's 129 bucks if you just buy it outright. So that's pretty close to what you could get it for Zen. But yeah, it comes with a crap ton of ships. You can see all of them right here. Too many to go through in detail, but basically it comes, some of these are just leveling up ships. There's like a tier 1, 2, 3, and 4 ships. There's a science ship, battle cruiser, and then it also comes with a slew of tier 6 ships. So you get a bunch of leveling up ships, and you get 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe it's 4 tier 6 ships, and then you get also 3 additional tier 6 ships that are like the future. I don't know if they're 31st century. Is it 30? Yeah, okay, these are 31st century ships. These also come in the pack. These would be the 3 that I am actually most excited about. Looking at these 3 out of the entire pack, those were the 3 that I thought were most impressive as far as stats and consoles they come with. I believe they even are at fleet level. But shoot, they don't give them too many details here. But so it comes with a dreadnought cruiser, the science ship, which is actually kind of called the tier. It's very similar to what a tier 6 Vesta looks like. So it's very similar to the Vesta as far as layout, and it also gets a hangar bay. So very cool. And it also comes with a temporal radar, which looks pretty cool. Which I believe, I have to double check on that one, but all 3 of these ships look actually really, really good. Which actually I'm actually more tempted to pick up this 31st century ship bundle than the entire pack, because I'm not, the whole Temporal Special Agent pack, I'm not super, I'm not super excited about the lower tier ships and the other 4 tier 6 ships that aren't the fleet level ones. They do look decent, don't get me wrong, they are solid ships for sure, but I don't see them, I already have so many ships already. I can't see these filling a niche that I can't already get out of, for example, my existing command cruisers or my existing intel ships. These ones, they seem to be right on par with those, so I don't see much motivation to get those. But the 3 new 31st century ships look really good. And I believe these are even cross-faction. I'll have to double check that too, but I believe these are cross-faction, which would make them even better. I could get them on all my alts as well for my Klingon and Romulan. So these are the ones I'm most looking forward to. So unless you want something else in the Temporal Agent pack, like you do want the level up ships and you do want the other tier 6 ships, then I would say if you don't want all those things, just go for the 31st century pack, because those 3 ships look fantastic. You do get a few other things here, though. If you do get a bunch of cool TOS uniform parts. You do get some titles, if you're into titles. You do get that bridge officer, the 0718 bridge officer. And you get a Temporal Agent Operations pack, which, let's see, tech upgrade, unlockable once per account. Give you some tech upgrades. Gives you some specialization qualifications, so you can train some of your existing bridge officers to be temporal agents and seat them in your temporal ships. And a TOS advanced EV suit. That's I think that's this thing. So that's pretty cool. You get that as well. And there is the bridge officer. I don't know what his traits are, so I can't. I'm not sure if I can recommend this guy or not. I want to see what his traits are before I could recommend buying him or not. Now, if you don't want the Temporal Agent pack, but you do want this bridge officer, I believe you can get him in the starter pack. So this starter pack, oh, this comes with a T6 ship? Wow, this actually looks like a pretty decent pack. It's only 2,000 Zen and you get a T6 Paladin. Plus you get a Constitution. You get the ripped uniform. You get the bridge officer, so you get a Temporal Agent title. Wow. You know what, guys? This Temporal Agent starter pack looks like a pretty damn good deal for only 2,000 Zen, a tier 6 ship. This looks like a steal. If you don't want to, if you don't want to splurge and get the whole Temporal Agent pack, this looks like a really good option. Or even just like buying this to get the bridge officer and the paladin and the Constitution, and then getting this for 6,000. That would still only be 8,000 Zen, and you get most of the good stuff. except all the cosmetic stuff, but you get most of the good stuff, and you still be saving a lot of money over the Temporal Special Agent pack. That is where I might go with this. Yeah, this looks like a good pack, guys. I mean, a tier 6 ship in a 2,000 Zen. Usually tier 6 ships are 3,000 Zen on their own. So 2,000 Zen for that. That is a very good deal. So I can highly recommend this Temporal Agent pack, the starter pack. All right, so I believe that covers most of it. Now, the other ships, if you're interested, I can't really show you here, but if you want any of the other ships, like from the JJ verse, you're going to need to get those from the new lockbox, the Kelvin timeline lockbox. Those will be very expensive here when the new lockbox comes out. The new ships are always very expensive, so they all do actually look very impressive. They all look very cool, but they are going to be very exclusive for a while to come here until more of them get put into the market. That said, the actual Vengeance is a low buy ship, so those might actually be somewhat more obtainable, because as you know, you always get low buy out of every box, and low buy ships tend to be a little bit more accessible than the rare lockbox ships. So if you save up, you may be able to get your hands on a Vengeance. I've seen quite a few of them out there in the wild when I'm going through the battle zone. Working on the temporal marks. I have seen a few out there, and it is a very cool looking ship. Oh man, really awesome looking ship. But I guess that is it, everyone. I think that pretty much covers the expansion content. Keep in mind that there is an event going on when you create a new 23rd century character during this event. They do get flagged as a temporal agent. Now, I'm not quite sure how this works yet because they haven't gotten into it yet as far as how far I've gotten in the storyline. But my understanding is it works a lot like how the old Delta Recruit event works, where if you have this character working as a temporal agent, as you're going through the normal storyline, so when you're going through the remainder of the episodes here, there'll be little extra objectives that show up, and you'll be able to complete those. And as you do that, as you're going through the episodes and you complete more of those little side objectives, you will get rewards. And some of the rewards will be account-wide, and some of them might be really good, because for the Delta Recruit event, there were some really good rewards. And that's kind of their motivation for getting you to level up a new Agent of Yesterday character. So all you have to do is, if you've created a character, between now and August, oh my goodness, I forgot the date, August 22nd, I want to say. If you create a new Agent of Yesterday character anytime in that period, you are automatically flagged as a temporal agent, and you can start working on those objectives. I am actually doing a Let's Play right now of the new story arc for Agents of Yesterday, and I will definitely make a note of it when I run into these little side objectives during that Let's Play, just to see how the whole thing works. So another reason to get in and create a new character with that new free character slot. Alright guys, that is about it. I think that covers pretty much all the content in this patch. A lot of good stuff there. I am worried. I think I'm a little bit worried that like I said, I'm loving the Agents of Yesterday story so far. I'm just a little worried that there's only 6 episodes here. I get the feeling I'm going to blow through this so fast, and I'm just going to want more. Yeah, I just wish there were more episodes, because I'm just so much loving the storyline so far. I really like the retro style, the old original series vibe. It's really been great so far. So I think the one shortfall here is just it's just going to go by too fast. I can see that already happening. It's just there's not enough new episodes, even though they may be excellent episodes. I mean, like I said, so far I'm enjoying them, but But that, that's a good thing. I mean, I'm glad they put the time in to make 6 quality episodes instead of 12, episodes padded out with lousy patrol missions or other garbage like that. So I guess I shouldn't complain too much. I do like quality content over, padded, grindy content. All right, so thank you very much for watching, everyone. Hopefully you found this informative. I'm very much looking forward to getting back into leveling this character, which I'll be doing shortly here. I'll be continuing on with my Let's Play, so look forward to that. All right, everyone, have fun out there with the new Agents of Yesterday and the 23rd Century content. It is absolutely fantastic. All right, that is all. Bye for now.